Do you want to see a walkthrough on this, or you just want to read it?
Rehearsal, please. Quiet, everyone.
There aren't a lot of really experienced directors of photography in the St. Louis area. There's 3 or 4 names that immediately come to mind, but there aren't a ton of functioning directors of photography who've shot a feature film. And a name that came up several times was Nick Gartner. And Nick Gartner, he's in his early 20s, maybe 24, 25 years old. A lot of energy, owns his own Steadicam rig. Nick really wanted to bring on his brother Dan Gartner. Dan's a gaffer, a chief lighting technician, and I think Nick would have done the film without Dan, but being as they're brothers and they've worked together so often, I think he felt much more comfortable and confident once Dan agreed to come aboard.
We found Nick. Nick brought on Dan, and between the two of them, they brought on the rest of the Grip and Electric and camera crew.
And the shorthand between those guys was even better than my shorthand was with Nick. Nick and Dan they'd say 5 words to each other. They'd grunt a couple of times and kick the dirt, and boom, he knew how to set up the lighting scheme based on those couple of words these guys would have. Visually, one of the things I wanted to do with Shadowland right from the get-go was I wanted Laura, the main character, to be in shadow literally as much of the time as possible. I probably storyboarded maybe 30, 40, 50% of the film, and then we had shot sheets literally for everything. We had shot sheets, we had overhead diagrams showing the camera movement and the camera position.
Nice.
I woke up at like 2:15 in the morning to do shot sheets, and it was on again like in an hour. So I took a shower, came back in, sat down, and did shot sheets while watching Guardian of the Realm on cable. It was awesome.
I was surprised. I thought I would need to storyboard most of the film, but I found that once I had talked it through and once I had done the shot sheets, I pretty much had it in my head. And once Nick and I got in sync with each other, we kind of became shorthand communication. He knew what I was looking for.
Hugh heard it come out a little bit before we reached the end of the
Okay.
Because I want to start that ped before we're done with it.
Okay, cool.
There were a number of situations where we went in with a game plan, but were willing to listen to the options that came up.
So I've decided, first rule of this dress is that we don't talk about this dress.
Kaylin, in addition to being like a teenage beauty queen and a former Miss Missouri and a lot of other things, she's into physical training. She's a personal trainer, and she trains very heavily herself. So she's in really great physical condition. I don't mean she's just attractive looking. I mean just physically, she's one of the most fit people I've ever seen.
Let's go as soon as you're set. Action.
I don't think I could have made it through this movie if I wasn't in the shape that I'm in. And that's solely because I get affected by heat very easily. We ran outside a lot. It was very demanding. The costume for Laura, whether she had just come out of the mud pit and she's slathered in mud from head to toe, or she's in the 1897 costumes that are very warm, but the black pants, the black boots, the black leather jacket with the black gloves, and the scarf, I think was the worst. I'm not the kind of person, I'm not going to put forth 100% of my energy, so when he says to run and sprint, I was sprinting, and it got a little warm on some of those days.
She just really tried to push herself during this shoot, during some times that were very hot and very cold. She'd be shivering cold, shaking, could hardly talk, her teeth chattering.
You want the blanket?
No. It's good.
This being her first film, I think she didn't want to say no, she didn't want to back down, she wanted to make us happy, and we appreciated that. We loved her for it, but we had to stop her occasionally and say, no, you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to live for tomorrow because we have more shooting to do.
Hi, this is Wyatt. I'm with Gail's movie crew. I'm downstairs. I wanted to... Thanks. There are bathrooms on the ground floor.
We've been rolling sound on her, like, breathing.
I know, it's on everything. Like, this is supposed to be an action movie.
I love having any reference sound.
I know. I hate sound. Sound is my enemy.
trendy store. Wyatt and I had been out wandering around one night down on Del Mar, and we saw this shop called Fifi's. And so a couple days later, I called up Kelly, who owns Fifi's, and there was kind of this hesitation on the other end of the phone, and she's like, "Now let me get this straight. You want to shoot a movie, and you want to do it in my store?" And I said, "Well, yeah." She goes, "Well, how can I say no to that?" And it's just that kind of attitude that, well, you're making a movie? Yeah, I want to be involved in this. That has really made shooting in St. Louis just fantastic.
Del Mar was a big, popular sort of party street in St. Louis. There's a lot of popular shops there and a lot of restaurants and clubs. And shooting there at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Friday night may not have been the best strategic move on our part, but schedule-wise, that was just when we had to shoot.
Yeah, and I hadn't really anticipated it being as busy. The shop owners had been telling me, "Oh, we're not getting a whole lot of business," so I didn't really expect that there'd be a ton of people walking down here, but there will be. So we got a couple of, I was looking to see if the thugs were there. That's not one of my thugs. We got a couple of guys wearing security t-shirts, which I think will help a little bit, just as far as crowd control goes. I don't know. I was going to say I don't think it's going to be too rowdy, but I was kind of drowned out by the people yelling in the background.
There were a lot of drunken people who amazingly didn't walk in front of the camera, but who would walk behind the camera during a take when we're rolling sound, and at the top of their voices going, "What's going on? You guys shooting a movie?"
Come on, man. I'm the ground, man. Now, what you have here is a situation of a drunk guy.
Oh, that's the guy.
I'm trying to get in the field. You know what I'm saying? They don't want me in the field. It's all good. Who the first
It was very interesting because I had one gentleman walk by and goes, "She's dirty, but damn, she still look good."
Obvious.
Yeah.
I'll glue
Here, let me
stick
see some of this.
I have to do this in order to be allowed to be in the film. They won't let me do anything in the film unless I work really hard. And then I have to spend hours chained in an attic where they push food under the door. Yeah, working with Wyatt, Gail, and Bob, it's really rough, man. It hurts.
When we first met Jason, we liked him, we liked his look. He was a little bit slimmer than he is now. So we got him a personal trainer. So he was able to put on a couple of pounds and bulk up a little bit, look a little bit more like the vampire hunter.
And Jason had said, they hired me saying I was perfect, and then they wanted to completely change me.
They brought me in to meet with David Conley to teach me the martial arts and the kata, which was interesting.
Somewhere along the line, we needed the actor who played Julian to be able to drive a manual transmission, be able to drive a stick shift. And it wasn't until about 3 or 4 or 5 weeks before shooting that we were talking to him and realized he couldn't drive a stick. He'd never driven a stick in his life. So basically Gail took him out in her Mini Cooper and taught him how to drive stick in the Mini.
I ended up figuring out how to kill the car really well.
That's the hardest part, is getting it into first. Once he got it into first gear, he was fine after that. So.
But of course, my first day of shooting was the car chase.
Jason is set. We are a go. Go, baby, go. All right, we killed it. Action. Go, baby.
Eventually, by the end of the shoot, I could do it. I was fine, and I was more comfortable with it. I still never quite got the hang of reverse. Gail and a couple of the other crew guys, and they had to do all the reversing for me and that. So.
Yeah.
What's that?
So the license plate on this car is Jason Contini's initials and his birthday. And apparently, Meg, who is the art director, made up different ones that have different meanings. So like Wyatt Weed rocks and stuff like that.
And the toughest stunt shots in the Mini Cooper were actually taken over by Gail herself, because it was her car.
Wyatt's like, well, it's your car, Gail, and from a distance we won't be able to tell, and you got similar hair to Jason.